This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing well. We're on the precipice of the holiday season. I want to send big holiday hugs and loves to you, each and every one of you. I want to wish those who are dealing with this weather system that is going to play a number on, at least here in the United States and Canada. I'm not sure about the rest of the world. Please, I just implore you to be safe and warm and be careful. If you're driving, put supplies in your car just in case. And just layer up as much as you can. It's easier to take off a layer than to take off a toe. Okay, on with the show. I am really excited about today's guest. And I love her name, Millie America. Doesn't it just sort of like sound like, you know, Wonder Woman kind of thing? Millie America. I just love it. Anyway, Millie is a metaphysical facilitator, intuitive empath, writer, speaker, and cheerleader of love. We can't get enough of those cheerleaders. People often refer to her as a medium, but she thinks as herself as a large, and we're going to talk about that actually. She is the founder of Sacred Journey Inward, a daily blog where she shares stories of humanity focused on love and growth. With her committed and growing number of followers, her passion is helping others unlock their own stories and spiritual gifts and to discover their own authenticity through private intuitive readings and counseling sessions. Her background is in social work and has given her the perspective to lift others up to fulfill their potential and higher purpose. Millie is an Amazon bestselling author for her collaborative book, You Empath You, and an anthology and guidebook for empaths. Millie's new book and story of tragedy to triumph, Erasable, will be launched this upcoming January 2023. So let's welcome Millie. How are you? Thank you for being a guest here today.
Thank you so much, Marla, for having me. I really am looking forward to our conversation. It's wonderful. It's always wonderful to share space with others.
And, you know, and you just, I mean, first of all, your energy is so lovely and you do so much for so many. Personally, in your household, because you have a very large household.
I have 8 children.
Yes, I would say that would be a large household. You know, and if you to put any of the 4-legged family members in there as well as husband, I mean, you know, it gets quite full during the holiday season. And if you're a grandmother, you know, having those grandchildren, etc. there, oh my goodness, what a beautiful life you've created for everybody.
Thank you.
So let's talk about you and what you do and how you work. So I always love to start at the beginning. When did you first become aware of your ability to communicate with spirits or see them, whatever your modality is?
I started seeing spirits when I was about 3 or 4 years old.
Wow. Were they your friends?
They were my friends. I mean, I was a child. My mother had me at 44, and my sisters were already grown up and out of the house. And I was a child that entertained myself very easily. And I could talk to my dolls or talk to angels. But it wasn't until I think I was about 6, the first time, it might have been 5, when my mother had a stationary bike in this apartment that we were renting. And in my room, there was a stationary bike. And in the middle of the night, there was a woman pedaling the stationary bike. And I woke up and she floated from the stationary bike all the way to my twin bed. And she sat on the edge of the bed and, you know, she hushed me so I wouldn't scream, but I didn't feel threatened by her. And she told me that she was my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, who died way before I was even born. Her name was America. My name is Mildred America Rodriguez Calderon. But I recently got a divorce. And when I took off my ex-husband's last name, I just kept Millie America. So I am very proud to have her last name because she was an incredible woman. But anyway, she told me that I would be seeing her and many other people that would be passed on. And so I started giving messages to my mother, who did not know what to do with me. Poor woman. She took me to therapists. to psychiatrists, to spiritualists. Basically, I learned early on that I had to numb it because it kind of scared her and it scared anyone around me that would, I would share these stories with, or
Right.
people that were dead in their family. And so I suppressed it most of my life, suffering from tremendous amount of anxiety, which, as you know, anybody who has abilities or gifts like this and they suppress it, they suffer from depression, anxiety, and an array of mental health issues because you're not being authentic to your higher self.
Right.
And so, in my early 40s, I left my second husband and I disabled this entire life with 6 kids at the time. And four of them were already grown up. And I took the youngest ones, and they were 14. And I came to live in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina with a friend. And we bought this little rundown motel that looked like the Bates Motel. And we created it into like a motel / retreat center. And in this place, that's when my spirituality started to open up, because if anybody knows anything about Asheville, North Carolina, is that it is magical, but it will
Yes.
also open you up to things that you might not be ready for. And so this motel, which happened to have been run by many years prior, like 25 years before, was a halfway house for girls with severe problems. And so in the middle of the night, I would get these, this is when I started opening up again, I would get these little girls running through my room asking for help. There was a cellar downstairs where I was sleeping in the basement. And I later found out that it ran as a foster care house for these girls, trouble girls, and they were molesting them and really hurting them down there. So these memories were imprinted in this house. And then I started getting messages before people would even arrive. Like their dead, deceased relatives would show up like days before the person would check in. And then they would check in and I'd be like, oh, so did you lose so-and-so? And, and it just became this, I was overwhelmed because I went from being completely shut off to now this floodgate of information. And I didn't know how to deal with it. So I ended up going to therapy, and I was sitting in therapy with this woman. I had no insurance, and she is telling me, what are you experiencing? And she was very expensive. And I remember that it was like, I did like 2 hours with her. And I thought, okay, this is costing me an arm and a leg. So I'm going to go in there and tell her I am schizophrenic and I need to be tested for this. And I told her about my hallucinations, and she was very professional. So she's like, have you been diagnosed with mental health disorder or schizophrenia? I'm like, no, but I'm a late bloomer. I know for a fact that I have a mental health. I'm having a mental breakdown. And so she asked me a few more questions, and she's like, well, what do you experience? And I was like, I'm seeing people that are not there. And she's like, are you seeing anybody in this room right now? I'm like, yeah, I am. So she goes, is there somebody here that you would like to give me a message for? And I did. All of a sudden, her face started, like, it turned white. And she said, I need a moment. And she got up, little tiny petite woman, got up and left to the bathroom for like 10 minutes. And I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, I'm not paying her for these 10 minutes. That woman better come back. And I'm deducting these 10 minutes from this. This is not acceptable. And she comes back, and you could tell she'd been crying. And she said to me, I don't believe that you have schizophrenia. I don't believe you're usually people that start to question their sanity are pretty sane. Because they're people. And I was almost finished with my psychology degree. So I knew this. And so I gave her the message. She confirmed it. And she's like, how about if we embrace these gifts? And every time, Marla, somebody would say that this was a gift, it would enrage me. I was like, a gift? A gift you can get back. I can't give this to anyone. I can't get rid of it. But you know what? We worked together for a while. We did a lot of hypnosis, regression, and I was able to make peace with it. And that was 12 years ago. And I've been able to, so where you say the medium, then people started saying, oh, you're a medium. And I was like, no, quite. I'm actually a large or extra large. But it was a joke because I don't wear medium. I haven't been a medium in years, So that's where the joke comes in. I'm like, oh, I don't like that word, but okay. I feel that we all, it's not just me, you and every single person that I've ever come in contact with whether it's in the street, we all have an ability to
We do.
receive messages, whether they're through signs of a song or a loved one, or a bumper sticker, or through dreams, or a feather, or a dime, or whatever. Spirit is always right there with us, giving us
Always.
signs. The only
And
difference that I'm sorry.
good. No, I was just going to say that I'm agreeing with you, and then we'll hear what the difference is. But as I talk about, they don't have free will, so they can drop these signs that they're around, but they can't work on your behalf until you ask them for their
Mm-hmm.
help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you were going to say,
A lot of times we think that just because we don't see them, like I possibly see them or hear them or smell them, it's just that I have a sharper antenna. There's no difference between anyone else that I can't hear. And well, if you have a gut feeling and something is wrong, that's your intuition. That's your higher self knocking at you and going, "Hey, can you pay attention a minute?" And every single experience in our life is also an opening to our higher self.
yes,
So if you don't learn it the first time around, that's a whisper. Then they start telling you a little louder. And every time something happens that you either fall into an illness or there's,
your life
make
falls apart.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's spirit finally saying, yo, hear me out because you're not listening. It really is that simple. I mean, I'm stubborn as can be. And I go, oh, okay, I stubbed my toe 3 times this week. What should I be learning of this?
Right. And that same with me. I mean, my life just collapsed. I can't tell you how many times, like you think you would have learned meaning me, but talk about stubborn. This went on for decades and decades where, I was in my head. I didn't listen to him. I didn't know about signs. I didn't take it as a sign, that I should be doing something else. And like they say in AA, right? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, I was on that hamster wheel. So I so much know what you're talking about
Mm-hmm.
and what you're sharing to the audience.
And I think it was in January 15th of 2014. I had just come back from seeing one of my daughters that I adopted from Romania, and she had just had her first child, and she's got severe mental health issues, and we
Wow.
went to Florida to see her. When I came back, I went into a deep depression because I had a feeling that I would end up raising this child, which I did. I have adopted her as my own kid, and she's going to be 9 next week. So
Wow.
it's one of those things where um, I knew and I didn't want to accept it. And I ended up on the 15th in the hospital, which what looked like a heart attack and then a stroke. And my soul left my body in the ER. It was a brief moment, but when I went to that other realm where there is only love and acceptance and absolutely zero fear, I came back with an ability to get rid of all that anxiety and all the angst that I had in my life. There was something shifted in me because what is the biggest fear that most people have?
Going to hell? Dying, going to hell. I
Dying,
mean,
dying, dying is like,
dying,
that's
going to
what
hell.
people, and the minute that you're born, guess where your journey is going to?
The outcome is going to ultimately end in you transitioning.
Whether you want it or not, that's where we're all going. And
Right.
so, but the fear is so grand in the collective that it's inevitable. I mean, enjoy the ride from here to there. Make it the best you can because you're not leaving here alive. I'm telling you right now. And
No.
and that's where my life changed. That's when my life really experienced, okay, I can no longer just suppress this. I have to embrace it. And it hasn't been easy. Like any spiritual awakening or any enlightenment or whatever word you want to
Yes.
use, it will knock you off your every belief system that you have. It's not
Oh,
pretty. It
no.
finds you clawing on the side of a cliff, crying and wanting to die because you can't take it. So yeah.
Yes. But on the other side of that, when you have the courage and you get through that, the magic unfolds for one's
Mhm.
life. And
Mhm.
it's so worth that because to a lot of people hearing you say, "Oh my God, it's not for the weak," and it's hard,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do
No,
that."
no.
But there's ways to handle it
Mhm.
where you're in a neutral place so that you can get through it with grace and ease, as much as graceful and easily as you possibly can. And if you don't learn the first time, you'll keep going through it until you get the message, which is what we just talked about a little bit
Mhm.
earlier.
Mhm.
But the other side of that duality coin is that once you're through it, your life just opens up in ways you never ever thought it would or could, being more magical and more abundant than you had ever
Mhm.
anticipated it being.
Mhm. And that's the magic
That's
of it all, that once
it
you
is.
allow for it, once you
Yes,
accept it, once you recognize that the 3D world is just this gift that we're given because we're spiritual beings having this very human experience, and it could be messy, it could be wonderful, it could be loving, but all you have to do is just show up and take every day the next step. And yes,
I
life
love
can be
that.
messy
Yes,
because it is life. I mean, we're not here to just, flow through it. And we are a race that does not learn with ease. We have to really struggle and, fall down and just we love conflict. We love chaos. It's like that's what gets us through. And once you have that opening, you realize that you're not even attached to that story. You have your
yes.
own journey and your own story, and the reason, and everybody has their own specific reason for being here, and it's magical. It really is.
It truly is. I mean, if you would have asked me 25, 30 years ago if I'd be on this path, if I'd have a podcast of my own, if I'd be talking about these practices and beliefs and abilities, I would say, no, I go to them. I'm not one of them.
Mhm.
But like I used to say to the kids I adopted, and they'd say something, and I'd say, I go to mind readers. I'm not one. So I can't read your mind because, kids also, they like to play and manipulate and they think, we're
Mhm.
going to mess
Mhm.
around. But
Mhm.
yes, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I go to them. I'm not one of them. But today I would say something different
Yeah.
because I now totally own what I was brought here to do and who I am and what my intentions are. And I know where they're placed, as I know you do.
You're
And
such a beautiful, beautiful soul, Marla. I mean, I know we just met today, but I have to tell you that you have a whole committee behind you, and you have this incredibly amazing white light around you, and it feels very female. So whoever that is, whether, and I don't believe it's an ancestor, I believe that is an entity of a higher dimension. Whoever this guide is has definitely picked you purposely to get through the messages that you're giving of spirit to other people. So thank you for the job that you do often, every day, and as many times as you can, because you're here as a lighthouse. So thank you.
thank you so much for sharing that with me and telling me. And I have got goosebumps running up and down me. My face is all like, if you had a close up, I'd have goosebumps all over my face, my arms. It's just totally covered. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And that's what we're all here to do. You as
Hmm.
well as we're here to help humanity.
Hmm.
We're, whether it's four-legged, two-legged, webbed feet ones, or,
Hmm.
I mean, it's
Hmm.
to help humanity and the planet in the best way we can to raise consciousness so that people, because people don't have to live challenging lives,
Mm-mm.
especially in the holiday season.
Mm-mm. Yes, this is a really hard time. I mean, really hard time. I found myself last night. I wrote about it this morning. I found myself in the midst of trauma, in the middle of the night, and it shows up and it knocks like peekaboo. And I really believe that if people just realize that they're not alone in this, those traumas never go away. Those triggers, what they do is they lessen. It's like grief, and you navigate it. And the holidays, because of people coming by or seeing family that triggers, or
Yeah.
the weather, or not having enough money to buy gifts, or whatever it is that we have added to the consumption of what the holidays, it really isn't, but that's what we call it. um it triggers a lot of us. It triggers the loneliness. It triggers past experiences. And, I would love for your viewers to understand and remember that ultimately it's just a day or 5 days. At the end of it, we can do anything for just a few days. Let's be clear. We make a
Yes.
lot more out of it but we can tolerate and we don't have to participate in anybody's drama. We can distance ourselves from here and accept them as loving beings in their own stories, and we're navigating our own stories. So I think it's very important. And what you said about, the weather, it's just, it's a lot at this time of the year.
Yes. And people really want to be with their family and might be delayed. But I'm with you. I believe that you can breathe through any emotion. 90 seconds will get you through to the other side. And I have to say, I think I'm going to say this energetically yesterday, because I too it was my birthday, and I was having
happy
this.
birthday.
Thank you. But normally I'm very even in everything. But I was off center, is how I like to call it. I was off center. I wasn't upset about it. I just sort of accepted and went through my day, and I was off center. And today's a new day, and it's a little brighter and cheerier, and that's just what you're talking about and how it works. And if you stop labeling things as bad or good and judging it and criticizing it, I feel it also helps with the flow of our trajectories.
Absolutely. And it really does. I tell my clients when we're in one-on-one session, I always ask them, do you at least take 5 minutes in a day? Because a lot of people don't say they don't have time for meditation. And I tell them, instead of turning on the radio when you get in the car, just like being silent as you're driving and be aware of the clouds, the trees, because the moment that we return to this, that's where we lie, right here in this very moment. The past, you can't do anything about it. And it taught us tremendous lessons. The future is
Hopefully.
wonderful. Right. But we're so caught up in our society and our programming to either live in the back or worry about the future.
Right.
And here's this moment. And hey, I am the most imperfect person I have ever met in my life. And so I am aware that I too do it. But when I do it, I also distance myself and go, like last night, I went, okay, what are you trying to teach me again? What haven't I gotten yet that now? And once I do, at the light of day, I could cry for an hour or feel it and then go, thank you. I sat in the car after I took my children to Christmas camp. And I kid you not, it was the most powerful thing. I kept saying to myself, you got this. You got this. And I kept saying it louder and louder. Like I get a little weepy. And the more I said it, maybe 20, 30 times, the harder it was for me to not be in the moment and recognize that whatever is right here, whatever is right in front of me, it's just a story. It's not going to change unless I decide to participate in it. So we have those choices, and the spirit world is constantly there. I hold conference calls in my car. My little one's always there. Are you talking to your unseen friends? I am, and we're having a meeting. And I would just because I'm like, okay, you people are failing me right now. You get to it,
And I love that you're saying it that way, because it's showing people how to talk to spirit, not to be mean, not to be rude, but hey, come on, you need to give me give me something here.
And they're there for that. Ancestors are there. Angels are there. Ascended masters are there. God is there. You have this entire team. I don't go to many crowded places, and most friends recognize that they invite me, and I'm like, if there are too many people, I'm not going. And the only reason is because where you might see 10 people, I'm seeing about 100, because if I'm not put a bubble around me, I am seeing extra sensory information constantly moving through everyone. It's an overload. And so I steer away from anything busy. I don't go to many parades. I don't go to and the older I get, the more I shelter myself from that. And that's okay. It's not that I'm a hermit, but I am okay knowing
you can deal with it in small digestible bites, but you can't be there, from start to finish. I'm with you on that. And I think a lot of sensitive people are very much that way, where you want to participate, you want to be a part of things, but you can only be there for a short period of time because otherwise it's energy oversaturation.
Hmm. Hmm.
And because we are all empaths. And
Absolutely.
which leads me to your book, Erasable. I want to know what that's about, because are we trying to erase our past? Is it not about erasing at all?
No,
What is the book about?
actually, back in November of 2001, right after 9/11, I had a head injury, and I woke up in a park, and I thought it was 1987, and I lost 14 years of my life. I did not
Wow.
recognize my then husband. I thought I was still married to my first husband. I didn't have kids when I was 19. I was 33 now. I didn't realize I had 6 kids and not remember any of them. I did not know my life. It was completely erased. So the first part of the book was written 20 years ago, and I put it away. And if you were to ask me now to write this book with those memories, there's no way. It's been 20 years, and the details were so. I had written it in journals. I started writing it after I started gradually getting my memories back, and there are zillions of memories that I will never get back. I got hit really hard in the back of the head, and
Did somebody accost you?
yeah, with a racket, with a tennis racket.
Oh.
And I did not know because I woke up and I fell on a rock. So I had a horn here of and then one in the back. And I woke up from the floor and dirt. I was wearing flip flops and I had leaves in my hair, and I was walking out of a park in the middle of the night near my house, which was a very safe place. And of course, I don't get these memories for like a week, like days later. Um, there were these 2 kids that were trashing everything with their tennis racket. And so they passed by me and they ran and they hit me, but they hit me in that spot that knocks the wind out of you. And so I fell and I got hit in the front. So I walked for miles until I saw a cop go into a convenience store, and then they called the paramedics. They kept asking me what year it was. I was stuck in 1987. I gave them all the numbers and information of that life, which I don't know them now. I was stuck. Who's the president of the United States? Ronald Reagan. No, it's Bush. And I was like, no, he's the vice president. And like every single detail you can imagine. I remember in the hospital turning on the emergency room, turning on the TV that they had there and seeing Oprah Winfrey had lost all this weight and she was not wearing big earrings. I mean, that was like the cars had changed. In other words, it was like being in a Twilight Zone. And so from there, the book takes on is separated in mind, which I lost, body, which a lot of issues with my health when I was born until that time. So it was the mind, body, and then spirit when I really began to accept my spirituality. And what ties all of them together is transcending through love. So the book Erasable is not just seeing the light, but it's like a hero's journey, it's like moving through all this woman who was this woman and the things she did to this new person that has let all that go. I mean, I live in a 3D world, but I am not much of the 3D world. It really is that simple. I'm led nowadays a lot by intuition and spirit. And of course, I fail often, like daily,
Yeah.
but I get back
We're
on the
human.
horse.
Of course
I
we
get back on the
are.
horse and I keep on kicking. But it really is that hero's journey of, moving through all that. And there are very personal stories in there of, things that I'm sure somebody will say, wow, she wrote that in there. Okay. You know what? There's, stuff about being raped and not having dealt with it. And there's a lot of having money, losing it, my mother to cancer. I mean, it's a story. It's my memoir, it's my life. And,
Yes.
and so, yeah. And about 2 years ago, I picked it up and I finished it. And so that's the 20-year journey. I mean, it's to me, it's powerful. And it's even been a little bit like, should I really put this out there? I'm
Cathartic.
having
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm having a lot of hesitations half the time.
So I've written my book. It's called My Fucking Long Journey to Loving Myself, A Guide to a Shorter Path.
I
So
love that.
thank you. And it's partially biographical on my dysfunctional upbringing, not what happened to you, but we all have our own crosses to bear. And then coming out of it and tools and techniques that I've used. But sometimes when I give it, I sort of shudder going, oh, do I really want this person to know that much about me? Because it's a very vulnerable, which
It
yours,
is.
I feel yours is as well, place
Yeah.
to be. But with the vulnerability, with the openness, what you are allowing is people to know, yes, I too have had similar experiences. Okay, I'm not alone. If she's
Hmm.
writing about it, and she said she's had this
Hmm.
experience, or he, if it's a male author, but that these are the experiences, and you doing this not because you want to regurgitate
Mm-mm.
all the crap all over everyone, but it's to say, look at me too. It's our kind of Me Too movement.
Absolutely. And
You know,
why do we read stories or watch movies? Because we want to feel that somebody has experienced similar situations and challenges. And why do we feel connected to those who really share their vulnerability? Because it is a Me Too movement. It is saying, I'm not, I'm not, this is not, I shouldn't be shameful. I shouldn't feel this that I'm feeling, whether it's through addiction or whatever. I mean, you know what? No one's getting out of here without a past. We all have a past. It's
right.
how you transform your life because of those experiences.
And would you agree or disagree? And I know the answer to this, but that you're here to not live in the muck of all the dysfunction that you experience and the projections and the judgments and the criticisms. We are all here to learn how to, for no better word, heal them
Hmm.
and move on our journey. Heal and put them on our journey. Our next incarnation will bring us more stuff, but guess what? We don't have to live this again. And you have to go
Hmm.
thank heaven for that, because
Absolutely.
why would we want to live this all over again? But you will if you
Absolutely.
don't deal with it.
Over and over.
Thank you. Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
we're so on the same page. This was so much fun.
You
But
know, you know what I had a regression. I think it was about 8 years ago. And he asked me, the practitioner asked me, is there anything you want to know, like specifically in the in between world? Like, that's, for those who don't know, is the space between one life and another, where you sit and in the Akashic records or wherever, and you're actually able to go over your life. It's like a recalling of everything, and what did you learn and what did you learn. And I wanted to know, okay, what did I pick in this one? Let's make it clear, so that way, and it came out of like so easily in between. He asked the question, and the higher self said that I wanted to learn unconditional love. Well, Marla, we don't learn unconditional love when things are easy. We don't learn
mm-mm.
unconditional love. We get to participate with unconditional love when we've been screwed over, hurt. I mean, it's the most massive, incredible experience of forgiveness. And so it's a
Yes.
constant. I'm constantly reminding myself when someone has hurt me or when I have allowed, because this is a participation. This is not like I'm not a victim. Every
Right.
single
Thank
human
you.
being that has hurt me, I have allowed that. That is my contract, my participation in the drama. This whole,
Yes.
this happened to me. Yeah, but you fully were in it. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you participated in this drama. And I know that I get a lot of people that say, well, I didn't look for the cancer, or I didn't look for this. No, you did not. But a part of you came here to learn a powerful lesson. Whatever vehicle is used to get that lesson to you, it's going to be utilized. It really is.
And the lessons of those around you. It even
Absolutely.
has fingers that go out.
Absolutely.
It's not a self-contained capsule.
Well, we pick our soul tribe. We come
Yes.
back in groups. So, if you have a regression, your daughter could have been your mother, your husband could have been your child. I mean, we go through all this. I have seen the many personas and characters in my story many times in past lives. And, some would say that's your imagination playing a trick on you. Well, then, you know what? I'm learning from it. Whether it's an imagination or not, where does imagination come from if it's not source?
Right.
You
And
know?
the only reality is our light. That's
Mm-hmm.
our reality. Everything else is
Mm-hmm.
illusionary. I call it the Greek theater of metaphysics because
Love that.
we this the light is the same because it's androgynous, but we put on these costumes that are a human body and we play the roles that we've agreed to play. And we can shift the roles as we choose for our highest and best good. But if you choose to stay in not change and stay in the anger and stay in the fear and all that, well, that again is part of your Greek theater. It's, you setting yourself up where you're not getting the growth you were here to you were put here to grow with, to experience.
Absolutely.
And
A lot of times when I'm sitting doing intuitive sessions, and this happens a lot, I'll get somebody who will ask me, I mean, the three most important questions in anybody's life are, is love coming to me? Am I coming into money? How's my health? I mean, that's
yep.
it. Those are the three most powerful questions that everybody wants to know that they're on track or whatever. And half of the time that I sit with somebody and they're telling me about the relationships that they've had and they want a new relationship, I say to them, if you go back to all your exes or the relationships you've had, can you notice the frequency that they imparted in you that was very similar to when you were growing up? In other words, we pick partners
Ooh.
who feel familiar to our upbringing. It feels familiar. So I often say to them, pick the one that's uncomfortable. If it feels uncomfortable, it's not the same frequency. You keep picking, not that you purposely pick an abuser or purposely pick a narcissist or purposely pick an addict, but somewhere in there, it is recognized as something that you grew up with. Once you're aware, you don't pick that partner anymore.
It's so true. And energy, I like to say, energy meets energy where it is.
Absolutely.
So if you're picking someone who's of lower energy, well, then there's a reason for it. And you have to start exploring, get curious about why. It's not a horrible thing to say, why do I keep picking all these people?
Right.
And then you found, like, I remember my high school boyfriend, I remember when I had seen him the first time, I thought nothing of it. But the second time, he was at a distance and it was like, I know this person, not understanding metaphysics or anything like that. And our relationship went as far as it went. And but even though it wasn't abusive in the way many of the others following were, he was brought into my life to show me something, and I'm aware of that now.
Oh,
And that's how people
I
go
think our
ahead.
relationships, like you're saying, every relationship that we have plays a massive role in our growth.
Yes.
I have a particular person in my life now that I say to my friends, it's the gift that keeps on giving. This particular person has shown me and keeps showing me from a distance all that I have, how far I've come, and how much I deeply have to learn. And they're not great participants in my life on a daily basis, but I am grateful for that person to continue to show me how much I have grown spiritually, emotionally, and even physically. I'm grateful. I don't ever say I regret having had a relationship with anybody, because our time together was exactly what I needed at the moment. The same with my children. I mean, I have 8 children. 6 of them are adopted. Some of them that came from Romania are not very clear in my life. They came when they were older, but my participation in their lives, their participation in mine, has created a special bond and an incredible school for how I have grown as a woman and a mother, how I
It
mother the world.
and it brings in a level of richness and multifacetedness that without these experiences in people, we wouldn't have.
Absolutely.
I mean, it'd be looking, instead of looking through a prism and seeing all the beautiful colors and shapes that projects, it's just a piece of glass and it's one dimensional and it's like, oh. So we have to, I agree with you, being grateful for all these experiences are so powerful. And if you start changing the way you perceive them, then you can use them for your growth.
Mm-hmm.
I
Big
really
time.
feel that. Yes, absolutely. It's almost charity shout out time. So let's pause here for a second. So charity shout out time is that charity of my guests that we highlight because they are are passionate about giving back to their specific charity. And Millie's happens to be, wait, I have it here, themastershift.com.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the Master Shift and what it does for people and why you want them to support it.
They help a lot of people, but they also it's an organization that helps and bring awareness of higher consciousness. They embrace all sorts of religions and everything. And what it does is like they post and they provide money to help others. But the master shift many years ago, when I started writing a blog, and that's why I support them, because she was one of my first real like supporters. I started writing a blog back in 2012 when I moved up here. I was a, no, in 20, no, I think it was 2011. Anyways, and this woman reached out. She was the founder of the Master Shift, and she had just started the Master Shift, just an online community. She's got like 3 million people following her. I mean, it's a big
Wow.
community. And she reached out to me because she found one of my blogs, a spiritual blog, and she said, I would love to showcase you on my page. And at the time, she had like 5,000 people. And I thought to myself, oh, I don't know if I can, like, I was just starting to come out spiritually. I don't know if I can. I mean, 5,000 people seemed like a lot of people. I mean, that was a lot. And I did. And she continued. She goes, I can't pay you anything right now, but I need spiritual writers and you're very authentic. And so I started, she actually helped me put my name out there. And that's when I started really blogging. And, I have Sacred Journey that has over 181,000 followers, and it grows every month. And it was one of those where she gave me that. She has helped so many people in growing their spiritual business, and it's just beautiful. So I support them as much as I can, because first of all, their Facebook page is beautiful to just go every day and read, just to be inspired. And they put out these clips and stuff. So yeah, go support them, because they really are, what they do to raise the consciousness of humanity is delicious.
And we need that. That's what we're here
Hmm.
for. That's, I talk about how I'm here to raise the consciousness. You're here.
Hmm.
All these millions, I'm going to put it in the millions of categories,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
each day there are more metaphysicians being birthed. And I'm not talking about infant wise, I'm talking about they're walking
Absolutely.
this planet as adults, and all of a sudden something happens that acts as their catalyst for their growth. And we're, many of us, most of us, because let's face facts, some people are in their ego totally and they're
Hmm.
not.
Hmm.
And God bless, go with God. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're talking about those people who authentically um, really want for the highest and best good of the whole planet
Absolutely.
and not just themselves.
Do you
Yeah.
feel, Marla, that I'm sure you probably have a very similar answer, and I'd love to bring this up, that 2020 was a reset?
Yes. Oh my God, on so many levels. But the
Hmm.
problem is, I also feel that 2020 was a Pandora's box
Hmm.
that got
Hmm.
opened. And
Hmm.
so, yes, there's a lot of reset going on. Oops. There's a lot of reset. It's a cold in here. Um, there's a lot of reset going on. There is, but a lot of people have taken it to the negative in terms of what's been done to them and
Hmm.
looking at the victim opposed the victimhood of it,
Hmm.
opposed to looking at the opportunities that go in with it. People felt like they were prisoners in their own homes, and in a way they were. And in China, there's still a lot of that. But what they didn't look at is, wait, this is the time for me to be able to explore something new, learn something new, try something new, and grow through things. And instead, they got anxiety and depression, and that's the stuff that I feel like are missed opportunities for many.
I feel that there was a lot of loss, but what I do, I mean, here we are almost 3 years later, and sometimes I say to my friends, did we not learn anything? I mean, while we were locked up in timeout, we were actually witnessing humanity at its best. We would watch videos of people in Italy singing in their balconies. We will watch
Yes,
whales coming out of, I mean, animals coming out finally, because the earth was taking a breather. And
yes,
I think to myself, did we forget, like, at all, that we had this incredible opportunity to reset and recharge and come together in a way that we never before have ever globally done so?
right.
And so what I feel that is happening, um is that from here till the middle of 2023, we're going to be shifting massively because I feel things are moving so quickly. Like I see it when I go into meditation and I get to see I wouldn't say that when I close my eyes and I go into that other realm is like the matrix. It's not like, like the little lines coming down, but
Right.
there's definitely this like a curtain, like your curtain with lights, like a curtain where I get to come in and just take a little peek of that other timeline, that the possible timeline, because we're having all these multiple timelines constantly happening around us. And it's one of those where I see so much incredible shifting and experience. And yes, there's a huge divide in our world that was
Yes.
put there because of also the pandemic, but it's also an opportunity to grow together and
Yes.
jump on whichever line you want. But I mean, like, be compassionate and love and race each other and be aware that everybody that I get so many emails and messages about people, my anxiety is off the scale. I can't breathe. I'm sad. I'm this and that. Hey, because if you are in a higher level, you're going to feel things that you're not understanding, as the timelines are shifting or as the collective is healing, but it's
Right.
happening to everyone. Some people notice it, some people don't. You know what I mean? If you're lucky and you're oblivious, yay, because you won't
Ignorance
have
is
to go through
bliss.
that.
You're right.
Exactly. But we are in the best time that we've ever been in, where we have an opportunity to raise the consciousness of this planet like never
Yes.
before. It's
I
beautiful.
love that. It is beautiful. It's amazing, and I agree with you. And that's why I was saying, people that they had more depression and anxiety and felt all this negative, and I really feel that a lot of them did miss the opportunity to, as you use the word reset, but
Mhm.
to change their experience. This was the perfect time. A lot of people were just trying to lick their wounds and and stay afloat. But it is just my heart just, hopefully I don't want to go through another 2020,
I don't either.
but I would like for when people awake for it to be obviously what they need. But as I say that, the other side is I also would like them to recognize it in a gentle way, not in
Yeah,
an
yeah.
aggressive way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's one of those where people either, I mean, it basically put my marriage right in my face. It shifted my marriage. It shifted the way I saw what I wanted to do with my life. And it did it to many people. People started relationships because they were ready or had children or wanted to have kids. Others did not, decided, I'm not doing this. I mean, it gave you the opportunity to do things that you never had before. And some people didn't take that, like you said, didn't take that opportunity.
Right. The other thing too is, and you have to look at when things shift, it's a blessing because you have these relationships with people, and I'm talking about people who didn't make it through
Yeah.
things were fine until the pandemic, and then all of a sudden you found out who somebody really was. Because when you're so busy raising the kids, going to work, going out socially, doing this or doing that, and filling your time, you really don't have the opportunity to see things in the true light of day. It always has a filter on it. 2020 took away the filters. And then you started seeing people as who they were. And it was, some of it was not pretty. And some of it is sort of like, I
2020.
chose you. 2020. I'm sorry, what did I say?
20, no,
2022?
no, no, it is. It's
Yeah.
2020
20.
vision. It's 2020
Oh,
vision.
in 2020.
We
Like
got to
medium large.
see, right, we got to see with clarity,
Yes.
2020, what needed to shift in our world. Some people haven't gotten it. We're going to 2023. That's pretty bad eyesight, but anyway, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, I do, and that's a brilliant way of putting it. And thank you for that because the medium large joke that I did 2020 and just going so
I got more where they come from. Don't worry about it.
oh my God. I'm gonna when I go down to North Carolina, I'm gonna have to go up to
You
Asheville. We'll have to
have
meet
to. You
halfway
do
or
have to.
something.
Yes, please.
Like I said, absolutely love Asheville. So much
It's
fun.
magical. It really is magical.
It is. And if anybody hasn't been to Asheville, if you have an opportunity to get into the Blue Ridge Mountains and
Oh,
to check this place out, it is phenomenal. And you will meet, the beautiful thing is about Asheville is that it's such a homogenous blend
hmm
of people in the metaphysical world, people in tech world, people in this, lots of creatives, lots of artisans, all living together, in a relatively pretty harmonious way.
The first time I came here, we came here in May of 2010. We came back the following month, and the motel that we were staying in was for sale. So we came back the following month, and we made it. We gave her an offer. But that first time that we got here, we went to downtown, and I didn't see any psychics. And I said to her, I heard there's a lot of woo here. I would like to meet somebody. So we went into this little hippie store, and I said to the guy, I said, let me ask you something, almost like if it was a secret, because I didn't see anybody, like I didn't see any psychics, or you
Right.
would think that in downtown Asheville you would have psychic on right now or whatever. And I said, is there like any mediums or intuitives or psychics here? And he's bagging something. He goes, you throw a rock, you're gonna find one. He was like, where? I don't see any. Yeah, they're everywhere. Don't worry about it. Just look online. You'll find. It was true. Once you looked online, it was like, oh, there's one more mediums per capita than any other place.
I think it might compare with Lilydale or Casadega
Casadega,
or
yeah.
the one in Chesterfield, Indiana, which name is
I don't
escaping
know that.
me. Yeah, there's a lot of those metaphysical
Yeah,
communities,
communities. Yeah.
spiritualist communities, which are just phenomenal and old. And like I just learned about Casadega about 2 years ago.
Oh, I used to live only 45 minutes before I moved up here in Winter Garden, Florida, and I was only like 45, 15 minutes from there. So once every few months, if people came down from South Florida to Central Florida, I would take them to Casadega and we would just go exploring. I mean, I love Casadega. It's got that quaint little town, and there is every house has a psychic. I mean, you're going to find somebody to give you a reading really
Right.
quickly that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty miraculous because, as you know, and anybody who's tried to get an appointment for psychics, especially at the end of the year to find out about 2023, yeah, it is. They're pretty booked, so that's
Yeah.
great to be able to have that. We are getting close to the end of our time together, which I can't believe, Millie, because I feel like we just started.
Oh, this has
But
been great. Thank you so much. I mean,
my
you're
pleasure. We're not.
magnificent.
Oh, thank you. As are you. I mean, we're going to talk offline. But what have I not asked you? What have you not talked about that you want to impart on the listeners before we close the show?
I don't know, Marla. I think we talked about
Well, do
pretty
you
much
want to talk about
everything.
tips about,
You
living
know what? I
through,
have a tip to move through the holidays. I have a
thank
spiritual
you.
mother about 20 years ago said something to me, and this works incredible. She says, when you're having a funky moment, I want you to say the word joy 3 times with deep breaths in between. I want you to do it with me.
Okay.
Joy,
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 joy.
joy.
Can't help but smile, can you?
Nope,
It
can't help but
shifts the
smile.
moment. You can't say the word joy without feeling the joy, even if it's just briefly. And that's one of those things, especially now in the holidays. If you're having a moment, go to the bathroom and say, joy. I don't look good in orange if I go to prison. Joy. Like
Right.
I don't want chicken choke anybody. Joy, and just keep smiling because I know it's hard. And you know what? It's just a very simple tip to bring you right back to the moment of just being present.
So you don't lose, you don't lose it. You
Mm-mm.
don't lose the moment and, the memory of the moment because it's more than just a moment.
It
This is
is.
what creates our memories. This is what
Mhm.
we talk to people about. Like, oh my God, I did this deep breath technique and oh, my day just shifted because it will and it can.
Mhm.
So that's so nice. So Morningstar is asking, is America your real name? So at the beginning of the show, Millie had explained, and I'll let you explain again if you'd like.
My I was born Mildred America. and Rodriguez Calderon. That's on my birth certificate. It was my middle name. But when I recently got a divorce, I just dropped the last name, and because I used everything Millie America and then my other last name, and I just dropped it and just kept it as the last name. So it is my name.
So you're like Uncle Sam's only offspring, laugh out loud.
Basically. It's so funny. My daughter who's 27, I was with her in South Florida this summer, and she said to me, so are you going back to Mestra like all of us when you adopted us? I was like, no. Are you keeping your last name from now? And I'm like, no. She goes, what last name are you going to use? I said, I'm going to be America. And she looked at me, and Marla had not even put two and two together. She goes, wait, you're going to be Miss America? I go, yes, I am.
I love that. What a great way to.
She was like, you're going to be Miss America, Mom? And I go, well, yes, I am going to be Miss America.
Oh my God. I love you, Millie. I thank you so much for being a part of this show.
Thank you.
And all the information, the guidance, the humor you've imparted for everybody to listen to. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you,
when we
darling.
start saying, yes, I am is priceless. It is. It truly is. Thank you for coming on. We still haven't tapped so much conversation. So next year we'll have to reach out again and get you back on here. Robert O'Connor says, Millie is a warrior, if the highest order.
He's so
you
sweet.
are so beloved. Thank you, Millie, for being a part of the show. I want to thank Bridget, my right hand, my left hand, my tech genius. Thank you so much for all you do, and for me and for my guests and everybody who we touch. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking time out of your day, out of your life to be a part of this show. You have choices. There's lots of podcasts out there. So I'm so grateful you chose to be a part of this show and listen to the conversations that are being had by myself and my guests. Today is Millie America. I love that name. And so thank you. Next week, I'm going to have Nami Nestowitz. I think I'm saying that correctly. Nami is an angel communicator. We're going to talk about all things 2023. Well, maybe not all things 2023. We might have to talk about angels and all things 2023 and what you might be able to hear about coming down the pike. So please tune in. Christmas is in 2 days. Christmas Eve, anyway. So I want to wish you all, no matter what holiday you're experiencing, that you celebrate the happiest and most magical of holiday seasons. Enjoy, and remember, take a deep breath, say joy in between to shift the energy around you. As I leave you, as always, I send you love, blessings, and gratitude. Know how grateful I am that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it. You're not only my student, you're my teacher. I'm not only your teacher, I am your student. And I'm going to say those 3 words. I love you. You are loved, not just by me, not just by family and friends, but you've got a plethora of beings on the other side of the veil, as Millie had confirmed earlier in the show, that are just waiting and conspiring, wanting you to ask for what you need so they can help you achieve it. So speak it out loud, and then be open to how it's going to come to you, because it's not necessarily linear, and you need to have a sense of humor because spirit has one. Okay. Check out my website, Marla Goldberg. Goldberg has 2Rs.com. See how I can work with you. And until next week, as always, stay well, stay healthy, stay safe in this weather, and take care.